something growing. It is small, but it's shifting the ground. When I was younger, I could hear it, but it's back. It's my sound. Sometimes I feel like I lost my only voice, but then I realize only I can choose my choice. I have to run away. I have to sit and stay. I want to live a life where I'm allowed to say that I'm proud of the way that I spent my days these days. All we ever really get are days to dream and days to lose. I just need to choose. I have to run away. I have to sit and stay. I want to live a life where I'm allowed to say that I'm proud of the way that I spent my days.
Good morning. My name is Annie, and I serve as the president-elect of the Board of Trustees of the Unitarian Universalist Church here in Spartanburg. Woo! Welcome to this place. We strive to be a beloved community of warmth, of love, and support across all of our differences. This is a welcoming congregation where each of you are welcome just as you are. If you are visiting with us this morning, and I have already met some of you, and there's a handful today, which is fabulous, but if you are visiting this morning, also yes, woo, we would love to share more about the life of the congregation with you. Visitor cards may be found in the pocket of the back of the chair in front of you. Please feel free to fill one out and place it in the offering plate during the service so we can reach out and better connect with you. There is a lot going on in the life of this congregation. Don't miss out. I'm going to give you some announcements, but please see your Connect for all that you can get involved in. All right, let's see what we got going on. All right, annual fund drive. It launched a couple weeks ago with a rousing service and a joyful celebration of cake and bubbles. Our goal this year is to reach $260,000 from 120 households. This ensures that our community remains strong, sustainable, and ready to live out our mission in the year ahead. As of today, we have $109,884 from 62 households. Yes. Y'all are killing it. So we are well on our way to reaching our goal, and as we receive intent to give commitments, we are adding leaves to our tree as a visible reminder of how our collective generosity takes root and grows. Thank you so much to everybody who's already contributed. Please remember to turn in your forms if you have not already. You can also submit your intent to give online. And this is for all of us. It doesn't matter the size of the pledge. It's all helpful, and it's all of us working together. So, thank you. All right, called congregational meeting today, after the service, today. Okay, if you have not already seen Susan for a blue card, or if you've not already voted online, you can get a blue card. Yes, thank you, Robin, for holding yours up. All right, so the purpose of this is to vote on a new endowment policy and procedure sheet. So it consolidates multiple existing policies that sometimes have contradicted each other and are, generally speaking, sort of in need of some clarification and updating. So if you are a member of the congregation, please stay for this important meeting. And if you are not a member, you are still welcome to stick around and see and learn. And there are cookies and coffee to follow in the fellowship hall. So if that wasn't reason enough, cookies and coffee. Yeah, we like cookies. All right, and now I would like to invite up Mary Underwood, our chair of committee on ministry, and Virginia McLean, our director of religious education. They are both leaders on Mission Objective 2, and they're going to share an update.
Good morning. For those new or visiting, just a tiny bit of background. About 2.5 years ago, we as a congregation voted, after months of dialogue, on 4 mission vision objectives that our congregation wanted to invest our time, energy, resources, and talents in. I'm here to talk about one of our MCV objectives, have fun, be together. A lot has happened in a short amount of time, so I will just try to hit the highlights. This is a large objective, so we have divided it into 3 distinct groups, teams, that collaborate with one another extensively. I am a member of the newly developed Adult Enrichment Committee, which is one of these 3 teams. Our team is chaired by Jim Scanlon, but has very strong staff support. Our committee has focused in 2 primary directions. The first is in providing adult enrichments on Sunday mornings prior to the service. We started last year by offering a course from Great Courses, and we have followed that with a UUA course on spiritual development. And also, at the beginning of this year, have added a gardening class. It is our hope to offer a widening variety of classes on Sunday mornings, giving adults in our community a wide variety of options for enrichment on Sunday mornings. Our other focus has been facilitating the creation of activities, classes, and groups beyond Sunday mornings. We've been making great strides on this front as well. We are offering a men's group, lunch bunches, a writing workshop, a multi-generational supper club, and 2 book clubs, one of which is led by me and Charlie Johnson, called Reimagining Religion. It's on the 3rd Sundays after service. I really needed to just do a little promotion right there. This is just the beginning. We come to brainstorm ideas. Things such as game nights, bowling leagues, and a D&D campaign, brewery nights, are only a handful of ideas that have been thrown out there. The sort of shift we're trying to actualize takes time and energy, but we are creating waves and plan to ride them into the future. So please take the time to routinely read the connects attached to your order of service, the unison, the happenings, and check the church calendar on the website so that you will know everything we are building and creating, and hopefully you will come to join us. The second team is our newly established Youth Enrichment Committee, co-chaired by youth, adult, and ministerial leaders, specifically Seffi Gilliam, Colin Bauer, and Ann Garner. They had a kickoff lock-in this past September with double the attendance from the previous year. They have monthly social events and/or service projects. Most recently, they met for MLK Day for a service project followed by a movie. They have revamped the youth room with new seating, lighting, and fresh paint job. And adult volunteers are also committed to attending events where our youth are performing, such as plays and concerts. The third team is our children's program led by the talented Virginia McLean, who will now come up to share all that's been happening with our children and her exciting vision for moving forward.
Hello. Okay, so we have a lot going on, and it is all because of you guys. You were the ones who chose this as a mission objective for us to focus on. So, with the adult enrichment and the youth enrichment, we have now changed Religious Education Committee to the Children's Enrichment Committee. The focus is on children, babies through 5th grade, and families. We have rearranged some of the classrooms to better utilize our space, and this has also opened up room for a children and youth enrichment library, which we are slowly getting into place. We'll let you know when the grand opening is. We are in the beginning stages of a playground facelift with building and grounds and long-term planning. One of the main things that came out of the whole mission and vision process was that we want to have fun and be together, and it's hard to be together when part of our family is not here. And what I mean is, it's hard to be a part of a service together when part of our family, children and youth, are not in here. So we are slowly moving to an enrichment hour and a service hour. And I know that people have lots of feelings about this, and we will work through all the feelings. And if you have questions or comments or concerns, please come to me or Ann or Scott. One of the main things that we hope that this will do is to let everybody feel involved and a part of a worshiping group, however that is for you. Some people, that may be sitting quietly and calmly and listening. Others, it might be scribbling really hard, but I'm still paying attention. So we just have to be good neighbors, even in our seats, not just outside of the building. We have to be good neighbors to those that are in this congregation too. One of the things that I just put out last Sunday, and if you have read your unison for February, you will learn all about our busy bags. These are not just for children, these are for anybody, okay? I have a pop quiz for you. Who can tell me, this will tell me if you read your unison, who can tell me how I made it through seminary? How I made sure I was paying attention in my classes?
I think it was knitting.
It was knitting. I had to have my hands busy. And I don't know if it's ADHD, I don't know if it's what, but I had to keep my hands busy to be able to pay attention. And I did that through knitting. But you may do that through quietly building Legos at your seat, coloring a picture at your seat, playing a little puzzle game at your seat. And here are the crayons, colored pencils, and amazing multicolored pens, because we all know how much I love these. So these are available in a bright pink bin right outside the doors there. All we ask is that you put them back when you're done and are respectful of the neighbors that are sitting around you. And if you are coloring extremely loudly and get an eye look, maybe just color a little more softly. But also, if you're sitting there quietly, just remember that not everyone can just sit there quietly. Sometimes people do have to have their hands moving. Again, this is not just for kids, okay? We've seen lots of adults who are knitting and crocheting and coloring, and it's a great way to help pay attention. It's that kinesthetic learning, using your body while you're also listening. All right. Let me get my notes back out. Okay. We also, in preparation for moving towards a enrichment hour and service hour, are in line with the Unitarian Universalist Association. The top dogs are, as they, are considered, are also putting out information about how important it is for us to have religious education for all ages and stages. And I was quite surprised to read several articles in the past few months about this and about their push to also move away from the model of RE is separate during the service time. So we are on par with the top dogs. We're ahead of the game. That's you guys. You are the ones who voted for that mission objective. All right, so that leads me to a handout in the back of your order of service. This summer, we are going to attempt to have an enrichment time and a service. This is a plan that will go into place starting June 1st that is brought to you by all three: adult enrichment, youth enrichment, and children enrichment. We will have an early brew time, so if you gotta get here early and have that first cup of coffee, you can get here at 9:30 and have that first cup of coffee. At 10 o'clock, we will all gather together in the fellowship hall for an opening gathering, where we'll have a chalice lighting and a reading that will kind of center our time together. And then we will have breakout groups, and these will be multi-generational. They won't be children over here, youth over here, adults over here. It will be small groups of whatever your interest is. So for example, there's a fantastic group that loves to have a music jam session. Well, my 14-year-old who plays the viola might want to join that group as well. And there might be, we have some adults who love crafting. Well, let me tell you, those kids love crafting too. So we'll definitely have a crafting group. We will have some outdoor fun, we'll have some games, and if you honestly just are like, I just want to come for the coffee and fellowship, that is perfectly fine too. So we will have opportunities for everybody. And if there's something that you're interested in and would like to lead, please let us know. We hope that this will be a good kickoff to the summer. And I have another surprise up my sleeve. I don't want to mention too much, but if you know anything about Flat Stanley, then you're going to love the flat chalice. That's all I'm going to say now. More coming soon. Thank you so much for all of your support, for all of these exciting adventures that we have ahead of us.
You didn't say what days this is. I mean, is it every single day you're doing this?
It's every Sunday. So starting June 1st, Sunday, on the Sundays, through August 31st. It's just the Sundays. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? Queries? Praise? This will happen at these times, 9:30, 10, and 10:15. And then service happens at 11, like always. Okay. I realize I should have added that to the end. I apologize.
Do you already have, like, set things for the breakout groups, or is that something that we're going to discuss leading up to?
We will discuss leading up. If there's something you're interested in, please let me know, because we would love to have, you know, if somebody wants to do a D&D campaign all summer, that would be really cool. So whatever you're interested in, please let me know. Anything else? Let the games begin.
I want to add my welcome to all the welcomes we got this morning. I'm Riley Lanier, and I'm functioning as your worship associate this morning. And I served the congregation, or have, in many capacities over the past 30 years. But now it's my privilege to be the service leader. The reading for laying the chalice this morning comes from Western prophetic traditions found in the Torah of the Hebrew people and the story of the Good Samaritan in the Gospel of Luke. It's very succinct and straightforward. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Also, I have profound words from the brilliant writer James Baldwin. The longer I live, the more deeply I learn that love, whether we call it friendship, family, or romance, is the work of mirroring and magnifying each other's light. Gentle work, steadfast work, life-saving work in those moments in life and shame and sorrow include our own light from our view. But there's still a clear-eyed, loving presence to beam it back. In our best moments, we are that person to one another.
If you will please join us in hymn number 125 from the Crush of Wealth and Power. I'm going to play this through once because it's a little different, so you can get it in your head. From the crush of
The rippling bowl is a sacred ritual in our church. Last 2 Sundays, however, I noticed there's no water in the rippling bowl, so how can it ripple? But anyway, stones and shells are placed around the bowl, which represents our beloved community for how we care for one another. Everyone in the sanctuary is invited to place a stone or a shell into it. As the ripples go out, our sorrows are lessened and our joys are enhanced. I will place a stone and shell in the bowl for those watching virtually. Well, I stand corrected. There was no water in the rippling bowl 5 minutes before the service. Sorry about that. Unitarian Universalists don't have a doctrine or statement of belief that we recite every Sunday because we are free to form our own path. This congregation has developed a covenant, though, a while back, which states how we strive to be with one another within the church and the larger community. It's found in your order of service and at the bottom of your screen if you're watching virtually. Please feel free to say it with me. With courage we say, we are people of faith and hope. Together we covenant to strive to become our better selves, to honor both the critical mind and the generous heart, divisiveness and to respond to systems of violence and oppression with the power of a love beyond belief. Each Sunday we set aside time in our service where people can greet each other personally. Please be mindful of individuals' personal space. You may also choose to sit quietly in your seats and wave or say hello to people as they pass by. When Cindy starts playing the music, it's time to return quietly to our seats for the rest of the service. Now, let the holy chaos begin. We all give to this church in many ways. And one of those ways is through our financial gifts that sustain and strengthen this place. We ask that you pass the plate by touching it to extend a blessing and pass it to the next person, even if you're not giving at this time. You may be like me and give online. Each month, we share the plate with half of all loose money in the plate and all designated funds to go to a worthy cause within the church, in the community, or globally. Share the Plate this month is going to provide scholarships for our annual retreat to the mountain. And we don't want anyone not to attend because of financial reasons. The ushers may now come forward.
Sometimes it's easier to jump to conclusions than to walk across the street. It's like I'd rather fill the blanks with illusions than take the time to see. You are trying to close the back door of your car. You are balancing the groceries and a baby in your arms. You are more than just a sign in your front yard. You are my neighbor. I can get so lost in the mission of defending what I think. I've been surfing on a sea of opinions, but just behind the screen, you are grateful that the workday's finally done. You are stuck in miles of traffic, looking at your phone. You are trying to feel a little less alone. You are my neighbor. When the chasm between us feels so wide that it's hard to imagine the other side, but we don't need to see things eye to eye. For me to love you like you are my neighbor, my neighbor. Oh, to fear the unfamiliar is the easy way to go. But I believe we are connected more than we might ever know. There's a light that shines on both the rich and poor. May your heart be an open door to your neighbor. You are my neighbor.
Share silence with me. This is a place of many views, a multi-religious space. There's no expectation that you will see the world the way that I do, and in fact, we find it life-giving, enriching, very meaningful that we don't see the world in the same way and that we share our different perspectives with each other for our mutual, not just enrichment, but for our mutual growth and development, our lives. But for me, the beginning and the end and the movement through time of life, the meaning of our lives, is love. And I find it's very hard to talk about love. The worst sermons I've ever preached have been about love. It's hard because it quickly becomes mushy and soft and vague. The word love can cover all manner of misunderstandings and misperceptions and poor actions. I'll give you an example. There's this wonderful ritual in our nation every year where competing teams gather and they run into each other. Tonight is the Super Bowl, and on the end of the end zone the Super Bowl, there are going to be these words emblazoned, telling us all to choose love. And who could argue with that message? It's a beautiful, powerful message. It looks like it was pulled straight from the order of service from the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spartanburg, South Carolina, today, right? We were the prophetic voice for the Super Bowl today. It looks that way. But those words, choose love, which seems so positive and emboldening and strengthening. I mean, who would ever preach a sermon against that, right? Those words are replacing another set of words that previously have been emblazoned at the end of end zones in the National Football League, because you have an audience of millions every week who are looking for their team to make it to the end zone. And when your team makes it there, you see these words. And the words that previously have been emblazoned were end racism. And in all that is happening in our country today, the erasing of diversity, equity, inclusion language and procedures and expectations and corporations following our federal government's pressuring, and all kinds of institutions that are afraid they will no longer qualify for federal funding if they continue to use this language. The National Football League is erasing those words, replacing them with these words that who could anybody argue with? Choose love. Yeah. I look forward to hearing what Kendrick Lamar has to say about all this. If you're not sure who he is, watch tonight. You know, and I just think removal of those words in the month of February, like, happy Black History Month, everybody, right? We really learned a lot. The problem with this is that we are creating a kind of nebulous love ethic because some of us have found it too unbearable to actually see the people beside us and what our lives have really been. The reality that we carry in our bodies is too much to bear. And so we're going to cover it up with what sounds nice, but we know has all the potential to deal death. A word of love that could deal death. If this makes you uncomfortable, please feel welcome to give me an earful at the door. I will put my arm around you with complete love, and we will have an awesome conversation where I listen to you. And I will lovingly also expect you to listen to me. Because what we're trying to do is build a life together. And that means we've got to see each other and not fake it. Faking it doesn't work. So I actually tried this last week. I can't believe some of you came back. We did a little exercise because spiritual life is not so much about ideas, even though we often privilege us. It's about what we practice, what we do, the habits we cultivate. And so we practiced a habit last week where I mercilessly, lovingly but unkindly asked you to look your neighbor in the face and just behold them. It was very uncomfortable. A lot of people started laughing and then turned away from their neighbor and stared at me. I had to redirect folks. It's weird, right? It's weird that it's so hard to just look at another person in the face. It's a strange thing. So we're going to discomfort ourselves again. And I want to ask you to really try to just turn to the person next to you and behold them. Look at them in the face. Just look at them. If you find that you have one neighbor on one side and one on the other and somebody's being left out, of course, 3 is, what is it? Somebody's a crowd, but anyway, just, it's fine, right? Nobody's worried. Just try to behold the other person. And no conversation. I can't control your laughter. But try really to just see the human being who is literally your neighbor in this moment. Go. Try to not use words which we now know can easily cover up the discomfort, and just behold the person for a moment. We're only going to do this for 30 minutes. It's going to be okay. If you find yourself looking back at me, return to your neighbor. If you have been left out, just tap somebody on the shoulder and say, hey, I count too. I matter too. And now I want to ask you, don't stop looking. I want to ask you to just say a word to the person that you're looking at. This is not a marriage proposal or promise of a Valentine's Day date. We call ourselves a beloved community. I want to ask you to just say to this person a simple, objective fact of what we create here. Say to them, you are beloved. Yeah, great. You can return to the agony of looking at me now. You're beloved. You don't have to know the person. You don't have to like the person. They might not smell the way you wish they smelled. All kinds of, I mean, we're human beings, right? We are embodied. And still, you can behold the person with love. Colin, I encourage that with your wife. That's a good move. We're living through a challenging time, and it's really important for us to say, this is not a monolithic community. We have many different views in this community, and that is welcome. We also live in a particular place, in a particular culture. And we all experience that, and that is reality that we work with very deliberately here. One of the things that we're doing this month, which is challenging, is working with this teaching, love your neighbor as yourself, which comes to us from the Western prophetic tradition. And we know that this is challenging for us here. This is a multi-religious congregation. This is not a Christian congregation. We do have Christians who are here, many people who identify in some way with that, but also lots of other folks of every kind of belief. And we also know that we live in a Christian-dominant culture. We just do. A lot of folks here have been hurt by that out there. We try to create a space of bravery and safety for each other. And so when we work with this idea, we do it with great care, knowing that there's all kind of harm going on all the time, all kind of wounding that's happened, and that we're running a risk in doing this, risk that we might misunderstand each other, risk that we might hurt each other without meaning to. We might somehow miscommunicate. And so I want to be really clear with you as best I can. I've said it for many, many years, and I mean it very deeply. I will go to my grave ready to stand by this conviction. Spirituality and human life are not about belief. Belief is a powerful part of human being. We all hold beliefs. But belief is a vehicle. It is a path to something. It helps you arrive somewhere. And so, there's a room full of beliefs, but many different beliefs. And when we tell these stories from the Jewish and Christian tradition, it is not to trick you into belief at all. It is to claim wisdom that belongs to us and that no one has a right to take from us by dint of power or culture. We've been flooded this week by requests from people in this congregation to talk about passages from the Bible so that we can be equipped to respond to things that are being said out in the world. We got to figure that out. For today, we're going to go a little past our usual time. Just bear with me because it's important work we're going to do. I want to tell you a story from this tradition. I'm going to tell you two parts of it. I want to ask you to listen carefully because they're both hard but powerful, and they are for all of us. It's a story of a man who comes asking a question. The question he asks is a question that's being asked this morning in congregations all around us. Oddly, it's not really a question that we spend a lot of time on, but it is something that many of us think about and something that has wounded many of us, so it's a pertinent question. The question is, what must I do to have eternal life? Now, quick, hard stop, time out, right? It's not a sermon about eternal life. That's the question that's being posed out of this tradition. And the message that we've heard since the Protestant Reformation 500 years ago is you got to believe in such and such, right? Very demanding requirement. But that's not what the Bible says. That's not what the story says. So when that message has been leveled against you, it's by people who are not reading very closely the thing that they say they're talking to you from. And the reason I'm telling you this story is to just bust that open. The answer that's given out of that tradition, not about what you have to believe, not about that, but just to bust through what you have been told, is love. The path to the fullness of life, a life with the quality of eternity, whatever lies beyond death, whether there's anything beyond or not. Life that would be like heaven now is to love other people the same as you love yourself. If you're really good at loving other people, but not so good at loving yourself, love yourself. We got a lot of that here. And if you're really good at loving yourself, maybe you've noticed somebody like that. You're really good at loving yourself. Love other people to that same degree. Imagine if every narcissist in the world loved everybody else the same way. That would be a super abundance of love. That would be awesome. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love creates a quality of life. Whatever we believe about afterlife or not, I don't care. Creates a quality of life now that is extraordinary, expansive. I want you to hear, this is not about belief. It's about love. But as we know from the Super Bowl, love is easy to fake. So a second question comes in this story. Well, who is this neighbor that I should love? And a story is told. It goes like this. A man of privilege in his day and time is walking down the road, and he gets waylaid by bandits, beaten up, everything stolen, left in the ditch to die, taken advantage of in his own country. And somebody comes along and sees him lying there And for whatever reason, they don't stop to help him, they turn away. They're just like him, well-resourced, all the status and privilege in their society, everything that they need. But for whatever reason, they don't have the time, or they're afraid, they don't want to get mixed up in it, whatever it is, they don't stop to help, they keep going. Second person comes along. High level of education, lots of prestige, plenty of resources, sees this person, turns away. They don't want to get mixed up in it. And then a third person comes along. The third person is an outsider. It's a person who has been separated from the privileged group. A person who lacks resources and status. A person who has been pushed from the center to the margins. In the story, the characters are Jews and Samaritans. Jews whose country this is in, and Samaritans who are actually distant cousins, but because of old family fights several centuries ago, got pushed to the outside and are treated like second-class citizens. If you want a corollary, just call them Jews and Palestinians today. That'll give you a good feeling for what we're talking about. And after two of his fellow countrymen abandoned this guy in the street, this person, who the person in the street has certainly been taught to look down on, and maybe to hate, that person sees a fellow human being in distress, and they go to help. And they take what resources they have, which are not many, and they pour them into getting that person help. And when they secure them with medical aid and shelter and food and ongoing care, they say to the caregivers, I'm going to come back in a few days with more resources. And if you've had to expend more than I've given you, I'll provide more. So don't let money be the obstacle, right? Don't let money be the obstacle. I mean, come on, NFL. How much money you already got? Don't let money be the obstacle. I mean, I would just love for an industry based on toxic masculinity, machismo, to have a little bit of moral courage, especially if it's backed up by billions. Don't let money be an obstacle. We are fellow human beings. Our job is to help each other. Right? And so in this exchange, the initial answer to what makes life worth living is love. Love. But love can be hard to understand. It can be used as a cover. It can be fake. What the story says is, are you willing to see the face of your neighbor and help them out? But actually, that's not what the story's saying. The story's saying, if you've treated somebody like a second-class citizen, wouldn't you damn well want them to be around when you needed them? So maybe stop treating them like second-class citizens. The story's not just about being nice, because nice can be fake. It's not about some kind of vague equality. The story's about a very uncomfortable reality. That in every culture we live in hierarchies and inequities based on some people asserting privilege over others, and it's violent. But there comes a time when we need each other. We need each other. And if we've shut each other out, who's going to be there to help us when we're down? James Baldwin said it really well in The Fire Next Time. He said, when white folks fall out of favor with the white community and they lose all their resources and their place to be. So often, they find themselves coming into the black community, where people know what that's like, and they are welcomed and nurtured back to health. Exactly the same story. Here's the way a Lutheran pastor said it after World War II. He'd emerged from a concentration camp where he was lauded as a survivor who had resisted the Nazis, and what he said was, "It's not who I am." He said, "I was a Lutheran pastor with all the privilege in the world, anti-Semitic, conservative in my ideology, very much against the communists, and I thought it would be good to cooperate with the Nazis. My congregation was one of those that flew those flags in the sanctuary." And he said, "When I finally realized what was happening and how wrong it was, I was thrown in the camp like everybody else." He said, "First they came for the socialists. And I didn't say anything, because I wasn't a socialist. Parenthesis, and I wanted to get rid of the socialists. And then they came for the trade unionists. And I didn't say anything, because I wasn't a trade unionist. Parenthesis, I don't like unions. Then they came for the Jews. And I didn't say anything, because I wasn't a Jew. Parenthesis, I hate Jews. Then they came for me. And there was nobody left to say anything."
If you will please join us in hymn number 298, Wake Now My Senses.
Wake now my senses, and to the earth call.
for the extinguishing our chalice, I read from the book North of Maine, Spartanburg Historic Black Neighborhoods of North Dean Street, Gas Bottom, and back of the college. In September 2020, Spartanburg City Council confronted the specter of urban renewal and neighborhood destruction. It unanimously passed a resolution acknowledging there had been systemic racism in the past, formally apologized for racial injustice and the resulting long-standing inequities. And the meeting held at the new T.K. Greg's Recreation Center, Black residents cheered as the council acknowledged communities of color have borne the brunt of social, environmental, economic, criminal justice policies, practices, and investments. As the only city government in South Carolina to pass such a resolution, the council pledged to do a better job in the future ensuring that policy and funding decisions focusing on racial equity.
Ensuring funding and policy decisions would focus on racial equity. You'll notice this month that we have readings coming from a book called North of Maine. It's a newly published book in our community. It's the sister book of a book called South of Maine. It's published many years ago, which has been a kind of Bible for our congregation. South of Maine is about this neighborhood and how it's changed by urban renewal. How our congregation came to be here is connected with that story, and we've read that book as a congregation to develop a part of our social justice work being a neighbor in this neighborhood. North of Maine is a parallel book about the north side of Spartanburg. Both of those books are here. We're going to work with North of Maine this month and next. And at the very end of March, the lead author of this book, of both books, Brenda Lee Price, who's the first black female legislator in the South Carolina legislature from this neighborhood, is going to be our guest speaker. So all of this is leading up to her coming to speak with us at the end of March. We also have James Baldwin's book of Fire next time. Yep, up here. And if you would like to look at any of these books, just take them with you. All right, little free library here. Just take them with you. After the service, we go right into our congregational meeting. If you haven't checked in and you're a member, then be sure to check in. And then we'll go to the vote. And then afterwards, there are cookies. For those of you who've been around, you know this is astounding because it's not the first or the third Sunday. It's the second Sunday. So another part of our mission objectives is to develop more fellowship time, and expanding to a coffee time on the second Sunday is a huge step forward that we owe to the hospitality team and to May and Ella Webster. If you enjoyed our cookie communion in December, then it's the same baker who has provided this today. Yes, you have to go to the meeting first. Have the courage that we need so much now. To see the reality of your neighbor and love them.
We have spent time together. fair.